Part 105. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1041. Temple. Zuyun's eyes suddenly lit up. That temple must be the hiding place of Sky-Fire. However, I don't know if there is a weapon immortal in that temple. The immortal of the great universe glass mirror is in the cave. The weapon immortals in the universe must have a place similar to their residence. Thinking of this, Zuyun was extremely excited. You guys stay here carefully, I'll go over there and take a look. After that, Zuyun went to tell Sangu and the others not to worry, while he ran towards the due south position. Not long after, he saw a ravine. Here, he used to experiment with various formations and spells. Seeing this place, his mind suddenly came to his senses. Too excited? He calmly pondered. When he was in the 9 fire veins, he used the rule of water to suppress fire to suppress the sky fire. But in the universe world, if there is a weapon immortal, and the weapon immortal is connected with the sky fire, then will the other party become more of a customer? No, you have to be prepared before you can go there. Zuyun still remembers that Nujiao specially told him that the great universe artifact immortal has a weird temper and is proficient in formations. Although Nujiao did not say it explicitly, the universe is space, and formations are the use of space. So obviously, if the weapon immortal gets angry, it may not be that easy to deal with. Only when everything is safe can we go there, just in case. It would be ugly if I suffered in this universe world. Zuyunking couldn't help but smile bitterly, and then in a flash, he left the world of Dazhu and returned to the immortal mansion. Hey, master, why are you back? Nujiao, who was leaning against the window, was stunned when she noticed Zuyun. Didn't you say that the great universe artifact immortal has a weird temper? So you have to be prepared. Zuyun spread his hands and sat on the edge of the void. This sitting lasted for a long time. It wasn't until all the lotus hearts were filled with chaos power that they stood up and entered the universe world again. Hey, if the Chi immortal is really here, I wonder who will suffer. Nu Jiao smiled softly, closed the window expectantly, and returned to her bed. If Zuyun really gets the true inheritance of Xianxia, then there's no telling if he can really get out of trouble. Since I followed the immortal emperor, I haven't left this house for a long time. This should be enough. Zuyun muttered to himself and continued to rush due south. The world of the universe is vast and boundless. Zuyun ran for nearly 10 days before he felt that the temperature around him began to rise slowly. It must be related to the fire, right? In addition to the brightness remaining the same in the original universe world, the temperature is also the same. As long as no one takes the initiative to use spiritual power or magic, the temperature will always remain the same. At this time, Zuyun clearly felt the temperature rising, thinking that he was not far from the volcano. After running for about half a day, a volcano finally appeared in Zuyun's eyes. Looking around, thick smoke is billowing out of a volcano. In the thick smoke, sparks would splash from time to time, and at the same time there was huge fire power. What surprised Zuyun was that this fire power turned out to be extremely pure Liwo power. Even Zuyun, who was a proficient practitioner of the Liwo curse, thought he could not achieve this level. The heavenly fire before did not have such a strong power of Liwo. Could it be that it was the heavenly fire generated here? When this idea appeared in his mind, Zuyun was also shocked. There are 4 levels of world stars, so if my own universe world takes shape, which level will it be? And how does the sky fire compare with Fen Tianyan? Shocked, Zuyun still did not stop. The heavenly fire at this time was far less important to him than the immortal weapon. But when he was only 1 mile away from the volcano, a fire dragon suddenly jumped out from the billowing smoke. The fire dragon roared and rushed towards Zuyun. The endless fire power, with its extremely violent aura, vowed to engulf Zuyun. So what if I'm away from the fire? If I were afraid of you, I wouldn't be here. Zuyun snorted coldly, without the suppression of heavenly Dao, in this universe world, he was in the stage of becoming a god. The position of due south? North and south are opposites. If you are due south, I will respond to you with due north. On the way here, Zuyun thought of a countermeasure, and faced the fire dragon. He punched out Suanweo fist. The 26th lotus heart in the body suddenly lit up, and then, a huge turtle head appeared above the fist. The turtle head also opened its huge mouth and bit towards the fire dragon. Hold head high. The fire dragon roared wildly, resounding throughout the world, but he never expected that it would instantly collapse and disappear without a trace. Eh? That old guy's chaos fist from 5 elements. Interesting. Suddenly, a suspicious voice sounded in Zuyun's ears, coming from all directions. Xian? Zuyun frowned. The Chaos Fist naturally came from the person who wrote the 5 Elements Chaos Sutra. According to Nujiao, the immortal emperor had a grudge against him. It's not surprising that Xian recognizes him. Even. It is very likely that we will learn more about this 5 Elements Immortal from among the Immortals. But with the lessons learned from Dao Xian, Zuyun did not dare to neglect. Therefore, he did not stop, but continued to use the remaining power of Suanweo Fist to blast towards the volcano. Good boy, are you really deaf or are you pretending to be deaf? This is a voice that goes straight to your soul. Seeing that Zuyun was not shocked by him, Xian was also stunned, and then, a ball of flame suddenly burst out from the volcano. The thick smoke dissipated and was replaced by a pillar of fire. The pillar of fire solidified, more like a fiery red long stick, and hit Zuyun head-on. Boom! The Suanweo Fist's strength suddenly decreased a lot, but the fire pillar did not slow down. Zuyun did not hesitate. Blue Dragon Fist. As the dragon roared, a blue dragon emerged from Zuyun's fist, instantly annihilating the fiery red long stick. Have equal shares. Zuyun stood still, and the volcano was silent. No smoke, no fire. Until Xian's surprised voice broke the silence. What a good boy, you are so powerful, no wonder you can find the main fragment of the great universe glass mirror. Zuyun was non-committal and said calmly, are you the weapon immortal of the great universe? Of course I saw a dark round shadow emerging from the volcano and floating in front of Zuyun. The world of Dazu was destroyed. I am the weapon immortal, but I am only the remnant soul of the weapon immortal. Otherwise, just rely on your incomplete chaos fist can't destroy my pillar of fire. Really? Zuyun raised his eyebrows and said calmly, even if I can't be destroyed, you can't do anything to me. That's true. Xian didn't care about Zuyun's attitude and said with a smile, after all, since you can refine a fragment of the universe world, you can naturally enter and exit at any time. But I, the immortal, will be trapped here forever. Hearing this, Zuyun couldn't help being slightly startled and said, the immortals of Dao Glazed Mirror can come and go at will, why are you trapped? In his eyes, the Dao Glazed Mirror and the Dazu Glazed Mirror are equal existences. If the great universe artifact Immortal had not come to the Immortal Mansion before, he would not have treated the great universe artifact Immortal with such caution at this time. Unexpectedly, Zuyun's words shocked the great universe Immortal even more. Have you met Diwu? If the Dao you are talking about is the Immortal of Dao Glazed Mirror, then, I have seen it. Both are Qi Immortals, but their attitudes towards Zuyun are completely different. Zuyun's affirmative answer made the great universe artifact Immortal become anxious and immediately asked, in other words, you also have the main fragment of the great universe glazed mirror. Exactly, Zuyun squinted his eyes, thinking that he might need to know some important information again, and said, if the cave that the immortal emperor once used for training can be regarded as the main fragment, then that's it? Ah! Suddenly, the great universe immortal went crazy. Zuyun was startled and quickly took a few steps back to be on guard. Unexpectedly, there was another sound of sobbing. Zuyun was dumbfounded. Sure enough, as Nujiao said, this great universe artifact immortal has a really weird temper. He is crying and crazy, how can he look like a fairy? Although the arrogant appearance of Dao Xian made Zuyun very unhappy, it had to be said that Zuyun felt that Xian should be like that. Great, great. Boy, if you can let me out, I will give you the Lishan fire, how about it? Caught off guard again, the great universe artifact spun around in circles and saw a formation disk flying out of the volcano. In the array, a fire was swaying, exuding the pure power of Liwo. It was the sky fire that Zuyun was chasing after. Li Tianhuo. True to its name. But Zuyun did not accept it directly, but looked steadily at the array. The formation pattern on the formation plate. He couldn't understand it at all. I have Tianhuo. Zuyun took a deep breath, retracted his gaze, and looked at the great universe artifact immortal again. He kept Nujiao's words in mind and said directly, I want your formation. Array. The great universe artifact immortal's tone suddenly stopped, and then he spoke coldly. Boy, you have a big appetite, aren't you afraid of holding on? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1042. I know your formation is very strong, but no matter how strong you are, you can't get out of this universe. You might as well pass it on to me, and I'll help you carry it forward. Zuyun's eyes were full of cunning. Boy, my formation method is not something that ordinary people can learn. One formation method is boundless in mysteries. How can the ultimate principles of heaven be learned by ordinary people? From the strength of your spiritual power, it can be seen that you are in the stage of becoming a god. Right? If you have this time, go and practice some formations. The great universe artifact immortal suddenly changed his tone again, and instead persuaded Zuyun not to learn the formation. Zuyun smiled slightly and waved his hands in formation. This formation is exactly the 5 elements formation that he has been studying some time ago. The 5 elements formation is not something subtle, it is the most intuitive principle of heaven. The sky has 5 elements, the earth has 5 elements, humans have 5 elements, and all things have 5 elements. The difficulty of this formation lies in one of the words hung. Whether Zuyun divided the chaotic power in his body into 5 channels, or controlled the 5 spiritual powers at the same intensity, or accurately positioned and operated them, it all showed the difficulty of this formation. This formation. The great universe artifact immortal was directly trapped by Zuyun with the 5 elements formation, surrounding him, and he couldn't help but be extremely surprised. He understands formations, so he can certainly see how difficult it is. Boy, I didn't expect you to have attainments in formations. Zuyun smiled lightly and said, is the formation difficult? Good boy. The great universe immortal was choked by Zuyun, and said, your formation skills are good, but if you want to learn my formation skills, it is not that simple. You are born with chaos, and chaos produces yin and yang. Yin and yang give birth to 3 talents, and the 3 talents turn into 4 images. 4 images form 5 shapes. These many changes cannot be learned in 3 or 2 days. Your 5 elements Hongzhen is indeed good, I can see your foundation. But I still say that you can't bite off more than you can chew. The immortal ended up like this because of this formation. Upon hearing this, Zuyun frowned. At first, when he heard the great universe immortal calling himself immortal, he thought that all immortals called themselves this way. But speaking at this time, it seems that this immortal weapon is originally an immortal? Formation immortal? Senior, what you mean is that you were refined into a weapon immortal by the immortal emperor because of your cultivation of formations. Xian immediately asked, what else? Zuyun suddenly took a breath of cold air, How could he know these secrets of the fairy world? A living immortal was refined into a spirit body. In his eyes, the weapon spirit and the weapon immortal are actually the same. They are all spiritual wisdom contained in a magic weapon. But aren't spiritual weapons the result of magical weapons giving birth to spiritual intelligence? How can people be refined into it alive? The most important thing is that this is still an immortal. The longevity of immortals is boundless. Boy, do you think that immortals will never die? At this time, De Jochi Immortal saw Zhu Yun's expression and couldn't help but sneered. Immortals are immortal, but they are not immortal. I became an immortal with formations, and I have been practicing formations since I became an immortal. I thought that I wanted to be in the immortal world. However, I never thought that the immortal emperor found me and said that he wanted to refine a world for him. I created this world, which is the world of the great universe. The world of the great universe lacks spirituality, so he refined people into it. It became the great universe glass mirror. Zhu Yun was shocked and said, "What about the Dao glazed mirror?" The artifact immortal of Dao glazed mirror is my younger brother. We are both formation immortals. It's just that I major in space, and he majors in time. Of course, we are not in harmony, because he regards time as the first immortal path, and I am a member of the Space Alliance. The conflict between our brothers was also exploited by the immortal emperor, and the result was that he benefited from it. But because of the immortal way, I didn't expect that the cosmic glazed mirror would break into countless pieces. You can come and go freely, so you can get out. Speaking of the latter part, the great universe artifact immortal couldn't help but be filled with emotion. Zhu Yun began to think deeply. The Diwu glazed mirror did not lose its effectiveness because of the departure of the remnant soul of the Diwu immortal. This showed that the existence of the Diwu immortal did not have much influence. So, can I let the great universe immortal leave? Of course, the senior is the one who can teach all the formation techniques. The tone of his words revealed envy, which was enough to show that the great universe immortal also wanted to leave. Senior, Zhu Yun recovered his thoughts and said, "I still say the same thing. If you pass down all the formation methods, I can promise that if there is a way to leave in the future, I will definitely let you out." Boy, Dazhu Weapon Immortal was a little surprised and said, "You are very confident in yourself. This Dazhu world cannot be left just by leaving. In addition to having an external carrier, it also needs that carrier to be extremely compatible. If you want to learn the formation method, I will tell you that my space formation is the best in the world. And formation is the use of space. In addition, if you learn my space formation, if you meet my brother someday, do you think he will make it easier for you?" Zhu Yun was startled for no reason, remembering the indifferent expression of the great universe artifact immortal. The battle of the universe. Maybe it might actually lead to death. But Zhu Yun thought about it and asked, "Senior, after you go out, can you come back to this world?" "Of course it's not possible," said the great universe immortal. "It's not a question of whether you want to come back, but whether you can come back." "What, are you planning to hide in the great universe glass mirror just because you met my brother?" He remembered that Zhu Yun said there were Diwu fragments. "Of course, the formation has not yet been completed. If Senior Dao comes looking for it, I can naturally hide in it." "You are still too young," the great universe immortal said with a smile. "What is my brother good at?" "Time. If he is willing, he can set up the time river formation and pull you out alive from a certain time node. Even if he is willing, if he doesn't want to do this, he can stay outside the fragments and speed up the flow of time until you appear on the scene." Zhu Yun didn't understand the meaning of time, but he understood what the great universe immortal wanted to express. But he smiled confidently and said, "Senior, I would like to ask, which one is stronger or weaker is the time together with the space? If the two of you meet, can Senior escape from the time formation?" The great universe artifact immortal immediately said angrily, "Boy, the strongest one is of course space. Even if his time spans the past and present and leads to the future, he can only find my endless space. Zuyun didn't want to know who was stronger. If he asked the great universe immortal, he would definitely know that the great universe immortal would say that he was stronger. His purpose is to inspire the great universe artifact immortal so that he can pass on the formation method. He always felt that he would meet Dao Xianxia again. Even if he can't meet Huang Xing, if he goes to the fairy world, as long as the cosmic glazed mirror is still on him, there is a certain possibility. While preparing for a rainy day, it also gives me more means. Zuyun shrugged and said with a smile, since the Space Alliance is the strongest, is that kid still afraid that Senior Dao will come to look for me? You also said that unless he uses the river of time to directly pull me out, if he dares to wait for me, then I dare to hide in the world of Dazhu, practice space together to the extreme, and compete with him properly. Good boy. The great universe artifact immortal was immediately extremely excited. These words were simply to his liking. You are right, time has no meaning at all to us immortals with endless longevity. Ha ha ha, yes, you can see through this, it couldn't be better. However, my immortals formation, it's extremely complicated to learn. Come back in a few days. I'm very capable. If I want to teach you all, I'll need some time to prepare. Come back in a few days. Zuyun was overjoyed. It would be great to be able to learn the immortals formation. Coupled with his own chaos power, I'm afraid he will be invincible in the spiritual world. The more he understands the fairy world, the more he feels that the fairy world is not a simple place. More complex and more dangerous. No immortal can safely practice his own way. Maybe it's because immortals have endless longevity and can't hold back the loneliness of eternal life. But Zuyun doesn't know what it is, and he doesn't want to know for the time being. Then boy, just thank your senior first. Zuyun cupped his hands and then looked at the sky fire beside him. The great universe artifact immortal calls it Lishan fire. Boy, do you still want this sky fire? The great universe artifact immortal suddenly asked. Zuyun wanted to agree, but when the words came to his lips, he laughed and said, Senior, I have burning sky flame, what's the use of Li Tianhuo? Yes, Fen Tianyan is a heaven-level ordinary fire, which is quite different from the heavenly fire. However, after following me for a long time, I have been tainted with some formation rhyme, and I have realized something on my own. If I like you, I will use those. I have brought all the things out to you so that you can have something to do these days so that you don't have to bother me here. After the words fell, the great universe immortal shook out of thin air and began to spin in a circle. In the blink of an eye, Zuyun found himself appearing in an endless void. And in front of him was the trembling Li Tianhuo. Boom! An invisible hand appeared out of thin air and pulled out a shadow from Li Tianhuo. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1043. Can this formation still be used like this? Zuyun's eyes were opened. There were only two attack formations like what he had learned. The first one was the 9 turns and 9 suns formation, which used the number of the solstice to form 9 rounds of suns, and used the suns to bombard the attack. The other one is the star movement formation. But the greatest function of the star movement formation is to trap it. It is also an endless void, using thousands of stars to attack. No matter which formation it is, its attack power is actually not too strong. In fact, it was far inferior to the opponent's killing array when they met Tang Tiangang. In the void, Zuyun did not see a formation pattern at all. He just let the big hand pull the shadow out of the flames of Li Tianhuo, and then turned it and pressed it towards his eyebrows. The Liwo spell. Li Huo Shu. Liwo formation. Li Huo, Tao. Not only did everything about Li Huo appear in Zhu Yun's mind, but even Li Huo's thousands of years of memories flooded into his mind. Haha, boy, this is a welcome gift. If you can really free me from the world of the universe, the benefits are inevitable. Seeing Zhu Yun standing on the spot, absorbing all the things he got from Li Huo, the great universe artifact Immortal was extremely satisfied. When World Tree has not completely mastered this place, at least within the scope of this volcano, he is the strongest existence. In fact, he had nothing to say. If Zhu Yun wanted to kill him, it would be easy. Even if Zhu Yun didn't mention it, he would try his best to trick Zhu Yun into letting him out. Even he was prepared for the worst. Beg for mercy. It's not like he has never begged the Immortal Emperor for mercy. But it was impossible for the Immortal Emperor to let him go. Only this boy, who has not been through the cruel baptism of the fairy world, has a chance to be reborn. Regardless of whether Zhu Yun was deceived by him or was originally kind-hearted, at least the great universe artifact Immortal looked at him very favorably at this time. Because the ancestral tree has become the origin of this world, he feels that he will be suppressed everywhere. If the pieces don't fuse, that's okay. But after fusion, he no longer has the final say in this world. Boy, I don't know whether this move is right or wrong. It will take at least 3,000 years to get the answer. But you are completely different from the Immortal Emperor, and I am willing to take a gamble. Now, I don't know what is going on in the immortal world. Since Dao that guy can settle down and live in peace, and can even return to the Diwu world to take a look. I think the fairy world is in a delicate balance. If I miss it, I may never have another chance. The great universe Immortal looked at Zhu Yun, who was in trance, and slowly retreated to the temple at the crater. And a moment later, Li Tianhuo realized that he was safe, so he escaped from this place in a flash. He had a hunch that if he stayed a little longer, he might not be able to leave. Instinct made him feel that this world was no longer a space that he could enter and exit at will. And all this is because the World Tree and the World Mountain have slowly expanded their origins and are coming to control this place. What you got from me, I took all back. As for what will happen in the future, it depends on your own destiny. From a high position, the great universe Immortal could be said to have watched Li Tianhuo leave with his own eyes, but he did nothing and flew to an altar. The next step is to engrave all of my formations into one formation, but I have to leave a message to that boy, otherwise, if I fall asleep, he will think that I have broken my promise. After the great universe artifact Immortal was ready, Zhu Yun suddenly woke himself up. Everything Li Tianhuo got from Dazhu artifact Immortal was not too difficult for him. The reason why it took a while was because he deliberately ignored some memories. Li Tianhuo has lived for countless years, and a lot of information is useless to Zhu Yun. He only found out what happened after his first encounter with Immortal Liwo. Sure enough, as he guessed, everything that Liwo Immortal Master got was obtained from Li Tianhuo. As for Li Tianhuo, apart from being Tianhuo itself, all of it benefited from the great universe artifact Immortal. Even Li Tianhuo was not Li Tianhuo originally, it was just an ordinary Tianhuo. But following the great universe artifact Immortal, he felt the rhyme of the formation, and spent countless time evolving himself into the Lishan fire with the position of due south and the number of the extreme sun. When Li Tianhuo achieved great success, he happened to meet Liwo Immortal Lord, who came to the secret realm of Tianhuo. At that time, Liwo Immortal Lord was still an ordinary fire spirit root cultivator. He was desperate and accidentally broke into the secret realm. He also happened to meet Li Tianhuo. Li Tianhuo had no ill intentions at that time, and even had a great affection for the human race, because everything he had came from the great universe artifact Immortal. Under the deception of Immortal Liwo, not only were all his abilities transferred to another school, but he was also designed by Immortal Liwo to take away half of the original sky fire. By the time Li Tianhuo found out that he had been cheated, it was already too late. After Immortal Liwo left, his cultivation soared, but there was still a long way to go before he could get revenge. Because the enemies he faces are getting stronger and stronger, and it is really difficult to eradicate them. For this reason, he realized the evil skill of Luo from the Luo Dao. Using half of the origin of Lishanhuo as a guide, he could attract all the Luo in the world. But there is no Luo in the southern mortal realm, so what should we do? Just let them practice. Under the step-by-step guidance of the Luo Immortal Lord, more than 90% of the monks in the southern mortal realm now practice the Luo curse or the Luo technique. At the same time, in order to make them willingly contribute the Luo to him for absorption, he also spent a lot of time to create his own personality and prestige. If Zuyun had not come to the southern Fan realm to restore the burning sky flame, I am afraid that in the entire southern Fan realm, no cultivator would ascend to the spirit realm before the Luo Immortal Venerable ascended. In this case, how could the Luo Immortal Venerable not hate Zuyun? So that's it? After learning everything, Zuyun suddenly opened his eyes. He sympathized with the Luo Immortal Venerable's past. However, after avenging his great hatred, he let the entire southern Fan realm be buried with him for his own selfishness. It seems that he must be killed in the southern Fan realm. Otherwise, if he goes to the spirit realm, Yuan may not be his opponent. The Luo path takes the path of extreme yang. Gathering the extreme yang position and the extreme yang number forms the extreme yang fire. It is no exaggeration to say that when the Luo is cultivated to the extreme, it can burn everything in the world, which is no weaker than the burning sky flame. After taking a deep breath, Zuyun looked at the volcano deeply, then dodged and left the world of the universe and returned to the immortal mansion. He also understood the way of fire, but he would not specialize in this way. The immortal mansion was still very quiet as before. Zuyun did not disturb them, but sat at the edge of the void to refine his qi. After using the azure dragon fist and the black tortoise fist, the chaos power of the two lotus hearts still needed to be restored. Then, go out and fight to the death with the immortal Lord of Fire. Of course, for him, all the means of the immortal Lord of Fire were ineffective in this lower world. True knowledge of oneself and the enemy. Even if he could gather the fire power of the entire southern Fan realm into one, after all, he was not truly accomplished and would still be restricted by the heavenly Dao. So, it was still the same as the nascent soul stage. Zuyun dared to fight with him. Half a day later, the two lotus hearts were full. Zuyun dodged and left the immortal mansion, but suddenly found himself in a sea of fire. The sea of fire of fire. Li Tianhuo, you actually want to refine the Dao Liuli mirror. Zuyun was furious. Feeling the boundless power of Li Huo, he knew what Li Tianhuo was thinking. He shouted angrily and quickly used the fire escape technique to dodge out. Li Huo roared, full of anger, and turned into a sea of fire, covering Zuyun. Originally, Zuyun used the fire escape technique, and he couldn't find Zuyun's position. But in the world of the universe, the great universe instrument Immortal forcibly pulled out all his Tao from him, and naturally contaminated his breath. Now, no matter where Zuyun hides, he will be found by him. He is going to fight to the death. If Zuyun dies, he will die. But he can still rely on this 9-link fire vein and come back to life. What a sinister heart. The unreserved Li Huo used a lose-lose style of fighting. For a while, Zuyun had no way to deal with him and was beaten back. The entire fire vein, which was not damaged by the Li Tian fire, was used to attack Zuyun. Zuyun was in a panic and could only dodge. But this was at the bottom of the fire vein, and he needed a lot of time to escape. Damn it! Zuyun's eyes were full of anger. He didn't expect that the Li Tian fire, which didn't care about life and death, was so strong that it made him so embarrassed. Even if he could win, the fire vein would definitely be destroyed, and he might not be able to deal with the more than 100 surviving cultivators in the outside world. What should he do? Just when he was at a loss, the voice of burning heaven flame suddenly came from his forearm. "Master, leave it to me." "That's right, burning heaven. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1044. He heard the great universe weapon Immortal say that the burning heaven flame is a heaven-level ordinary fire. At that time, he did not understand what this meant. But when he heard the burning heaven flame speak, he immediately remembered these two words. Heaven level. The world stars are divided into heaven, earth, black, and yellow. In other words, the burning heaven flame comes from the highest level world star. And the yellow star is a mortal level world star. Zuyun was overjoyed, and he quickly raised his forearm and released the burning heaven flame. "Watch me." I saw a flash of fire, and the burning heaven flame also turned into a sea of fire. The burning heaven flame that has been restored, although the power of the sea of fire is not as strong as the entire nine-linked fire vein, but the strongest part of the spiritual fire is in the heart of the flame. The burning heaven flame was not afraid at all, and the powerful fire power collided with the Li Tian fire to the extreme. It was obviously a flame similar to nothingness, but it made a series of roaring sounds. "No! No!" After a moment, Li Tian fire screamed. Obviously, the burning heaven flame is much stronger than him. "A mere ordinary heavenly fire dares to hurt my master? You're courting death." Fen Tianyan's voice rang out proudly. Although he was hiding in Zuyun's forearm, he could feel Zuyun's anger because of the spiritual fire symbiosis technique. "This Li Tianhuo must die. In this case, just swallow him up directly." Fen Tianyan had no mercy. Not only did he eat away at the flame heart of Li Tianhuo, he also slowly mastered the power of the sea of fire for his own use. "I don't know how long it will take." Li Tianhuo was silent again. And the nine-linked fire veins all became part of the Fen Tianyan. "Master, you've lived up to my expectations." Zuyun had not moved, waiting for Fen Tianyan to transform into a young man and stand in front of Zuyun. "Good, very good." Zuyun nodded repeatedly to show his appreciation. Fen Tianyan was very pleased, and then said, "Master, in addition to these nine-linked fire veins, there are more than 100 cultivators practicing, otherwise." While speaking, a touch of cruelty appeared on Fen Tianyan's face. "That's not necessary," Zuyun raised his eyebrows and said, "You drive them away, and then we will leave the heavenly fire secret realm and go find the fire immortal." "Master," Fen Tianyan shook his head and said, "I'm afraid I'll disappoint you. This heavenly fire secret realm won't last long, it will break soon." "Oh? Why is that?" Zuyun was stunned. The great universe artifact Immortal passed all the memories of the fire Li to Zuyun. Zuyun knew that the secret realm came first, and then the fire Li. Li Tianhuo has been practicing here for many years. Now I have devoured him and also got his memory. Fen Tianyan pointed to his head and said, "At that time he was still an ordinary Tianhuo, but later he evolved himself into Li Tianhuo, which was to borrow the power of the entire secret realm. If he is dead, this secret realm will also lose its support power. At most, the secret realm will shatter in an hour." "So that's it." Zuyun also searched in his mind for a moment, and immediately knew the reason, and nodded and said, "Then the people here. They will all be teleported outside. So, I thought of taking the opportunity to kill these people, so that they will not join forces with Luo Xianzun to attack the master." "I'm not afraid," Zuyun pondered for a moment. He already knew all the methods of Luo Xianzun, but the other party didn't know. Even if he could gather all the power of Luo, it would not pose much threat to him. The most important thing is that killing these people is simple, but what impact will it have on this Nanfan realm? Will it make the other nascent souls feel that they are indiscriminate killers, and they will have troubles in the future when they encounter him in the spirit world? "I can kill people, but I won't kill innocent people." He is afraid that it will affect the other nascent souls who have not come in yet. Master, I listen to you. As long as you say a word, I will kill everyone while I can still use the power of the 9 fire veins. Unconsciously, Burning Sky Flame actually took on a hint of cruelty. Zuyun was shocked. How similar is this to the time when he almost became a demon? I can't let Burning Sky Flame become like this. So, the original hesitant thoughts also became firm. No, come back to me. Zuyun immediately ordered. A flash of disappointment flashed in Burning Sky Flame's eyes, but facing Zuyun's order, he had to obey, and immediately turned into a ray of fire and drilled into his forearm. At the same time, the power of the fire veins here also lost control and quickly became frantic. Boom! 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 Outside the fire vein, all the nascent souls suddenly opened their eyes. Another accident. Could it be that Zuyun is fighting with the heavenly fire again? Or the lotus fire? A gleam flashed in Li Xiao's eyes. Zuyun is so strong that even the immortal venerable is afraid of him. Although they have never fought him, their experience in the fire vein has made them have a certain judgment of the situation inside. Although they are all misjudgments. Only when there is chaos, we have a chance. A demon said in a serious tone. What about us? Kill in. If we don't kill him now, I'm afraid that we will miss this opportunity. Whether it's the heavenly fire or the lotus fire, let's not talk about whether to take it or not, at least we have to kill Zuyun. Otherwise, we can't explain to the immortal venerable. The immortal venerable Luo is their belief in their hearts. So, at least we have to complete the purpose of the immortal venerable letting them in. Kill Zuyun. Kill. The previous frustrations all burst out at this moment. Thinking of the immortal venerable's expectations, everyone wants to disappoint the immortal venerable. Then, kill it. The remaining 100 or so monks all rushed into the 9 fire veins. Only this time, they were very close to each other. The purpose of this was to rush to help quickly if they encountered danger. However, as soon as they entered the fire veins, they suffered from the crazy fire spiritual power. These fire spirits, as if they had found freedom, were extremely violent, venting their fire power. Suddenly, all the monks could only respond and slowed down. And here, after Zuyun no longer worried that the Red Candle Demon King would disappear due to the collapse of the Skyfire secret realm, he also decided to leave. After searching for everything about the Skyfire secret realm in his mind, he found a way to leave immediately. Julian Fire Vein is actually one of the exits. All you need to do is activate the fire power, find the key position, and then you can leave this place. Get ready to fight. Zuyun murmured, gently touched the tattoo-like flame on his forearm, and then disappeared in a flash. Boom! As Zuyun and Fen Tianyan left, the heavenly fire secret realm began to shake. Whether it's on the ground, under the ground, or in the sky. The vibrations became stronger and stronger, like the sky and the earth falling apart. The flames in the 9 fire veins were even more affected and became even more frenzied, putting the monks in a dilemma. Back off, back off. The changes happening here may be due to the power of the heavenly fire. You are not showing off your power. You are crazy. You want to fight us to the death. Instantly, these monks panicked. But how could they know that the fire here, as long as it has a hint of spirituality, would be more panicked than them? Luo formation. A figure suddenly flashed and appeared in the formation. It's Zuyun. Outside the formation, Luo Immortal Lord immediately looked over and was greatly surprised when he discovered that it was Zuyun. He never imagined that Zuyun would come out early. Were they driven out by those monks? Or is there some other reason? But he didn't think much about it. Because he just wanted to kill Zuyun to stabilize his own southern world like a back garden. Luo formation, sleepy. He quickly made a formation formula, and then rushed into the Luo formation himself. Is that Zuyun? The Liwo formation was a formation he learned from Lishanhuo. Even if Zuyun came from the spirit world, he did not believe that Zuyun could break it. He has such confidence. In the whole Yellow Star world, maybe no one knows it. In other words, this formation is simply unbreakable in the southern mortal realm. Immortal Liwo, I have no grudge against you, why are you taking action? Zuyun still wanted to find out the reason and asked calmly. Ha ha ha, Liwo Immortal Lord laughed, and then said, yes, you have no grudges against me. I originally wanted you to be the leader of Liwo section, but after knowing your name, I don't want you to be the leader of Liwo section. I can guarantee that you will never have a grudge against me in the future. For the sake of my plan to become an immortal, I can only nip this possibility in the bud. Zuyun shook his head and said, what does your cultivation of immortality have to do with me? No, it has nothing to do with you anymore, Liwo Immortal Lord smiled sadly. If I hadn't met Yao Fuzong in the spirit world and he told me that you ruined his good deeds in the North Mortal realm, how would I have done it? Would he do something to a boy like you who is in the god transformation stage? But then again, boy, if there is something strange happening in the spiritual channel of my southern mortal realm, it is probably you who did it, right? Zuyun was shocked. Sure enough, Liwo Immortal Lord returned to the southern mortal realm because of himself. However, maybe this can also give us information about Xiaohuo, so he rolled his eyes and shouted that he was wronged and said, Immortal Liwo, I just came back from the Bifan realm unexpectedly. I also had a misunderstanding with Senior Yao in the Bifan realm. Ah! Misunderstanding? It doesn't matter whether it is a misunderstanding or not. Since you have come to the southern mortal realm, you will die. Immortal Liwo sneered and stretched out his hand to form a formation. Li Huozhen, burn his body first. As soon as he finished speaking, countless flames suddenly appeared in the array, heading towards Zuyun overwhelmingly. Ha ha ha, boy, I'm going to let this fire burn you down to the point where only your soul is left, and then I'll see what bad intentions you have in your soul. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1045. Liwo Formation. Zuyun raised his brows contemptuously, then remained motionless, allowing those Li Huo to swarm in and instantly surround him. That's right, Liwo Formation. Seeing that Zuyun didn't even think about resisting, Liwo Immortal Lord laughed and said, I heard from Yao Fuzong that you can also form formations. You are really good at it? It's a pity that you met me in the southern world. Yao Fuzong is not bad. He was able to fight his way out of my siege and let him escape back to the spirit world. Zuyun's voice came from the sea of fire, and Liwo Immortal Lord did not notice anything strange at all. Instead, he said, if you are a boy, your courage is amazing. You are in the mortal world. If you are in the spiritual world, let alone me, Yao Fuzong's 10,000 evil secrets can make you shattered to pieces and your soul is incomplete. But if you can fall into my hands, you are lucky. If you are allowed to return to the spirit world, wait for him to retrieve it from the east mortal realm. Demon Tower, I'm afraid you will be even worse. Zuyun was slightly startled. Yao Fuzong actually went to Dongfan realm. I don't know if he can find the demon refining tower. This. Are you going back to the east mortal realm? It seems that when the matter in the southern mortal realm is resolved, we must chase him to the eastern mortal realm. The demon refining tower is too weird. Even with the chaos sword in my hand, I can't leave a sword mark on it. Now that I don't have the chaos sword, it's even harder. He can only hope that he will not be able to find the demon refining tower for a while. Demon Saint Chan Nian became a tower spirit, and was still quite weak, and was buried in Dongsheng realm. While Zuyun was deep in thought, Immortal Liwo also noticed something was wrong. Because the sky was full of fire and surrounded Zuyun, but it did not cause any harm to him. Boy, What magical power did you use that my Liwo couldn't hurt you? After the words fell, Li Huo Immortal Lord quickly commanded Li Huo again. He no longer attacked with this range, but let Li Huo transform into a dragon, stretch out a sharp claw and grab Zuyun. This sharp claw, with the concentrated power of Li Huo, might hurt Zuyun. But Zuyun is not a motionless wooden man. Did you realize it just now? Li Huo Xiegong, you are really good at it. Zuyun had a sarcastic look on his face, looking at Immortal Li Huo in amusement, but then he reached out and made a formation. Li Huo array moves, the fire of the sun. Li Huo can turn into a dragon or an insect. The formation formula was accompanied by Zuyun's formula, and the fire dragon that came with murderous intent suddenly deformed on the spot. It actually transformed from a dragon into a huge fire insect, and fell down softly. Immortal Li Huo was shocked. You actually understand Li Huo formation. The reason why he is not afraid of Zuyun is not only because he knows from Yao Fuzong that Zuyun is only in the stage of becoming a god, but also because this southern mortal world has a side that no one in the spiritual world knows. And, my own Li Huo Dao. Especially the Li Huo evil art, which allows him to condense the entire Li Huo of the southern mortal realm for his own use. But he didn't want to overdo it, thinking that using all the Li Huo formation would be enough to kill Zuyun. But how could he have imagined that Zuyun would accept everything from Li Tianhuo? Zuyun looked at him like a piece of white paper, and he could see everything drawn on it. Just leaving the fire formation, he can find the main formation I with a change of hands, and then control it with his soul. What do you think? Zuyun asked calmly, and then made another formation. Whoops! The fire insect that had been lying on the ground turned into a dragon again, turned its head and pounced on Li Huo Immortal Lord. This sudden change caught Immortal Li Huo off guard. He quickly gathered the power of Li Huo in his body and shot towards the fire dragon. Immediately, the Li Huo dragon quickly collapsed, and the power of Li Huo also dissipated. Boy, you exceeded my expectations. It's a pity that you won't have another chance. The dragon disperses, the fire is extinguished, and the formation is destroyed. Li Huo Immortal Lord knew that if Zuyun was asked to use the formation to deal with it, he would probably have to spend a lot of effort, and he could directly destroy the Li Huo formation with just one palm. Is there any chance? Why don't you give it a try? Zuyun raised his eyebrows, already thinking of giving it a try. As soon as he finished speaking, he launched the seventh path of Chaos Fist. If my guess is correct, I will let you achieve my Suzaku Fist today. The fire is getting stronger. With this punch, a round warm flame appeared between Zuyun's fists. But as soon as it left the fist, the flames started to glow and rush towards Li Huo Immortal Lord. With such little fire power, do you want to hurt me? Zuyun, do you think that I am also an ordinary monk in the southern mortal world? While speaking, Li Huo Immortal Lord waved a palm lightly, and the boundless fire power quickly covered the flames. But Zuyun ignored it and launched the eighth path of Chaos Fist. Full of water. This move is extremely weird. Even Zuyun was a little confused. According to the six-way boxing techniques of Qinglong boxing and Suanwu boxing, it is a gradual process. Moreover, judging from the southern mythical beast Suzaku, the fire should be followed by a punch that gets even hotter. But this punch is for water. He couldn't understand, but he didn't want to understand either. As he punched out, the black and white on the fist surface changed, and sometimes purple light flashed. If it were zoomed into the sky, Zuyun would definitely think it was a change in thunderstorm weather. But he can't control so much. The chaotic power in the fist rushed towards the power of Li Huo used by Li Huo Immortal Lord without any delay. Water defeats fire? Boy, you have also practiced the Li Huo spell. Don't you know that Li Huo is the fire of the sun? Zuyun certainly knew that, facing the ridicule and question of Li Huo Xianzun, he ignored it completely, and instead looked down on it. Do you know that this is the Chaos Fist from the immortal realm? The black and white between the fists, the black turned into thousands of water drops, and the white was glowing with fire, and at the same time attacked Luo Xianzun's Luo, but before it arrived, Zuyun blasted out the ninth road. Water and fire melt. This punch was more like a strengthening of the previous one. The water drops were bigger, and the fire was stronger. Do you think that increasing the spiritual power will be useful? However, the spiritual power in your fist is somewhat similar to that of the five elements section boy. Even if the five elements Senran came in person, I would not take it seriously. Luo Xianzun had no idea what the consequences would be after he let Zuyun blast 6 punches. Instead, he felt that Zuyun was at his wit's end, and without the Luo formation, he was just making a last struggle. The 10th road, the sun is overhead. The 11th road, steaming the dog days. The 12th road, boiling the world. When Zuyun blasted out all the 6th punches belonging to the south, the fire between him and Luo Immortal Venerable was already raging, and the air was extremely hot and stuffy. With the addition of the water power of the previous punches, and the extreme high temperature evaporating it, even Luo Immortal Venerable could not see through the water mist on the opposite side of Zuyun's movements. At this time, Zuyun finally blasted out the 7th punch. Suzaku Fist. This time, there was no surprise. Whether it was the fire spiritual power, water spiritual power, or Luo Immortal Venerable's Luo power, floating in this world, all gathered towards Zuyun's fist. This unusual scene not only shocked Luo Immortal Venerable, but also made Zuyun a little stunned. The original Qinglong Fist and Suanwu Fist had never absorbed the opponent's spiritual power. But the fist had already been thrown, and Zuyun had no time to think. A warm feeling came from his lower abdomen, and Zuyun knew that it was his 7th lotus heart that was taking shape. At the same time, in the blink of an eye, all the power in front of him combined together to form a majestic vermilion bird. Before Zuyun could say anything, the vermilion bird screamed and rushed towards the fire immortal venerable. No. Impossible. Fire is the most yang fire. Why is the fire power of your fist stronger than my fire? The shrill scream of fire immortal venerable showed that he could not take this move at all. Zuyun was surprised again. He used the azure dragon fist and the black tortoise fist to attack Yao Fuzong, who was in the Mahayana period, twice, but the opponent was able to block it. Although he was also seriously injured, at least his life was safe. But why? This vermilion bird fist directly killed the fire immortal venerable. That's right, the fire immortal venerable is dead. The body is dead, the Tao is gone, and the soul is annihilated. The fire array was long gone, so the not-so-shocking fight between the two fell into the eyes of all the cultivators. When the fire immortal venerable screams faded, the place was quiet and silent, and you could hear a pin drop. Just when Zuyun was still at a loss, almost all the cultivators suddenly knelt on the ground and shouted in unison. The divine beast has descended, the vermilion bird is dancing. The Li fire is not extinguished, and the south will last forever. The divine beast has descended, the vermilion bird is dancing. The Li fire is not extinguished, and the south will last forever. The divine beast has descended, the vermilion bird is dancing. The Li fire is not extinguished, and the south will last forever. Zuyun just stared blankly, not knowing what was happening at all. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1046. After a long time, Zuyun saw a familiar face among the crowd. Red Candle Demon King. He looked pious, and did not think that he was different from others because he had been with Zuyun for a long time. Red Candle, come here. Zuyun shouted in a low voice. Meet the divine beast envoy. The Red Candle Demon King knelt forward, bowed his head with every step, until he came to Zuyun, and then bowed down to greet him. He worshipped Zuyun like a god. "You, what do you mean?" Zuyun vaguely guessed that the three words Divine Beast Envoy were related to the Suzaku fist he had blasted out. Suzaku is the southern divine beast. However, this was only the image blasted out by his fist power. Divine Beast Envoy, the Red Candle Demon King raised his head, his eyes full of reverence, but he did not dare to look directly at Zuyun, and said, "For us mortals, the divine beasts are our faith." Zuyun's eyes flashed with brilliance, and he said, "Don't you believe in the immortal Lord Luo?" "Don't be surprised, Divine Beast Envoy," the Red Candle Demon King said hurriedly, "we now understand that the immortal Lord Luo pretended to be the Divine Beast Envoy, and he deserved to die. We have been deceived for a long time, but we are not blind. Although the Divine Beast appeared in the world in the form of an image, it made us feel excited, and the meaning is self-evident. It's just that we are insignificant creatures, and we can't enter the eyes of the Divine Beast Envoy. I just hope that the Divine Beast Envoy will not blame us." Zuyun took a deep breath and realized that this must be another trick of the immortal Lord Luo, but he got the advantage by mistake. Obviously, they believe in Suzaku. The south is Li, and this place is the southern mortal realm, where the fire is more vigorous than in other mortal realms. Luo, that day fire has evolved itself into Lishanhuo through cultivation, and Luo Immortal Venerable even uses the Luo curse of the creatures in the southern mortal realm to strengthen his Luo evil power. So, Luo Immortal Venerable controls these cultivators with faith. It is no wonder that the Red Candle Demon King has never given a proper explanation for the title of Immortal Venerable. More importantly, Luo Immortal Venerable was killed by his own Suzaku fist. For them, it is not about who is strong or weak, but who is true or false. Faith is terrible. Zuyun narrowed his eyes, looked around, and then said, "I am not a Divine Beast Envoy." This made everyone tremble, and they all raised their heads, their eyes were extremely surprised. "I am not a Divine Beast Envoy," Zuyun said again, and the scene suddenly became chaotic, but what Zuyun said next made them stagnate. "But I can let you go to the spiritual world." Boom! Everyone's mind was like a thunderbolt coming to the world, exploding. "Can we go to the spirit world?" Divine Beast Envoy, at this time, the Luo sect master stood up suddenly and said loudly, "Can you really let us go to the spirit world?" Zuyun smiled slightly and said, "I'm not a Divine Beast Envoy." After a pause, he said, "I think most of you know my name, just call me Zhu Daiyu." "Okay," Luo sect master gritted his teeth and said, "Then Zhu Daiyu, what you said before is true. Luo Immortal Venerable has always said that only when we practice to the extreme and show the most pious in our hearts, will we attract the Divine Beast to open the passage to the spirit world for us. It is true." Zuyun couldn't help but admire Luo Immortal Venerable in his heart. This ability to play with people's hearts is really strong. It is not weaker than the Nightmare Demon King of the East and North mortal realms. But then again, I wonder if there are nightmare monsters in the Southern Fan realm. "You were just deceived," Zuyun said shockingly. Seeing that everyone was skeptical, he smiled slightly and continued, "You can ask friend Chi Deo. He and I have been to the passage in the South Sea realm and the passage in the Wild realm. Now the only passage left is the passage in the Fire realm. But I can go with everyone to see the passage in the Fire realm. Maybe we can unlock the restriction of this passage." Zuyun said so much, they believed it even if they didn't believe it. But in their hearts, they still had some awe of Zuyun. Even if they stood up, they stood upright, lined up without any noise, and then followed into the fire sect. Under the leadership of the fire sect master, they stopped at the mountain gate of the fire sect. "Friend Zudeo, the passage is here. The fire immortal venerable returned from here. There is a hall at the passage, and ordinary people cannot enter it. But today's situation is special. Almost all the Yuanying stage cultivators in the entire southern Fan realm are here. Zuyun laughed and suddenly pointed a finger at the void. It's just a change in the Luo formation. Watch me break it. Pointed with his finger, the Luo formation was on fire. Everyone only felt a pure Luo force flashing by, and then suddenly dissipated. A light gate appeared in front of them as if it were real. Like a dream, everyone's heart was involuntarily raised to their throats. Is this passage trapped by the Luo formation? But most of the cultivators in our Luo sect know the Luo formation. The Luo sect master said in confusion. Yes, Zuyun nodded and said, you understand the Luo formation, but you only know the basics. Luo Immortal Venerable didn't want you to leave, so he set up this Luo formation. The changes in this formation mean that all cultivators with the power of Luo will be blocked from leaving. So that's it? All the cultivators of the Luo sect here took a deep breath. Indeed, for thousands of years, generations of their disciples have studied the formations outside the light gate, but immortal Luo was prepared. How could people see through this formation? The boundless mystery of the Luo formation was realized by the Lishan Huo being tainted with a little of the formation rhyme around the formation immortal. How could the monks in the lower world see through it? Okay, Zuyun smiled slightly, I think this passage can be entered by monks who have practiced the Luo curse, and the one in the South Sea realm should be a passage for demon cultivators. Xiaohuo went to the spirit world through the passage in the South China Sea. The passage in the wilderness is the main passage and can go to any place. However, he has never met the descendants of the Lin family. Maybe the descendants of the Lin family were also exterminated by immortal Luo. Pity. Can we really go in? In the Luo sect, some nascent soul monks who were old and had lost their longevity asked in trembling voices. Their dying eyes revealed the light of hope, but they were also a little scared. Of course, Zuyun said, the Luo immortal lord wants to trap you in this southern world and become his source of power. If my guess is correct, 9 out of 10 of you have given the entrance to Luo City, or the passage outside the heavenly fire secret realm, was infused with the power of Luo, or the soul power, right? Everyone looked at each other, then nodded one after another. Zuyun shrugged and said, that's it? Immortal Luo controls you with mysterious methods. As long as he is moved by his thoughts, he can use your power at any time and anywhere to use it. It was in the secret realm of Tianhuo that I killed the Lishan Huo and learned everything about Luo Immortal. Zuyun picked out some information and told these monks together. Like a bolt from the blue. No one would have thought that after practicing hard for thousands of years, they would become someone else's wedding dress. But fortunately, the thunderbolts in the sky will clear up again. The person who changed this bad news was Zuyun in front of him. Okay, believe it or not, it's up to you. However, I, a good man, will do my best to unlock the passage to the South China Sea for you. When things happen over there, Zhu will go to the wilderness realm. There is also a Luo formation there. After Zuyun finished speaking, he wanted to leave, but suddenly stopped and said, fellow Taoists, see you later. If we meet in the spirit world someday, just don't do anything to Zhu. At this time, Zhu Yunke laughed and ducked away. For some reason, he felt relaxed all over. Perhaps it gave the entire southern mortal world hope to continue practicing? For a long time after he left, the monks did not move. Until, the leader of the Luo sect suddenly spoke up and said, old ancestors, I think that fellow Taoist Zhu has no reason to lie to us. It's better to break into this passage. Even if you can't break in, you have nothing to lose. That's right, another person said, there has been no news of anyone going to the spirit world in the southern mortal realm for many years. I have checked all the sect's books, and no one has ever been there. Luo sect was established by immortal Luo, so it is naturally impossible for anyone to go there. My sect has recorded that 15,000 years ago, the ancestor of our sect came down from the spirit world. A monk from the outer sect suddenly spoke, causing everyone to look at him. An hour later, several ancestors gritted their teeth and stepped into the light door. Another day later, there was no movement at the light gate, but from time to time, a bit more intense spiritual energy would be revealed from inside the light gate. There is no doubt that there is a passage to the spiritual world. Cheers resounded throughout the sky. Everyone knows that Zuyun brought all this to them. He is our benefactor in the mortal world. The benefactor of all monks. Leader Liwo looked at the wall facing the light gate, where a portrait hung. Quite old. Snored. He snorted softly, and the portrait was completely destroyed. From now on, the portrait of fellow Taoist Zhu will be hung here. I, the Yan sect, will destroy the statue of immortal Liwo and build a golden body for fellow Taoist Zhu. This is what the burning flame demon sect is like. Tianyan Pavilion is like this. The green demon fire sect is like this. The Suanhuo sect is like this. The same is true for the Kiwo sect. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1047. Zuyun came to the southern mortal realm and only wanted to restore Fen Tianyan. He didn't have much thought about the southern mortal realm. Even if he killed Liwo Immortal Lord, it was just an accident. Of course, the harvest is also an unexpected gain. He didn't know anything about the fact that the entire southern mortal realm began to believe in him as a divine beast. At this time, he stood in front of the boiling lake in the wilderness. The formation patterns that he had previously memorized in his mind were easily solved after he acquired the Liwo Dao, and he had already figured out everything he didn't understand. This is an extremely superficial Liwo formation, it just uses the water spiritual power in the lake. Could the Liwo evil art be related to the evil immortal? The word evil in it made Zuyun couldn't help but think about it. Looking at this holy lake, he felt filled with emotion. Cultivation of immortality is going against the will of heaven. Sometimes it is too difficult and it will inevitably lead people to go astray. But what is the difference between this evil and the devil? Zuyun shook his head, completely throwing away these thoughts that were useless to him now, and then he jumped into the lake. After analyzing the layout of the Liwo formation here, the power generated by the fusion of water and fire had no effect on him. Zuyun easily found the location of the Liwo formation, and then plunged in. Let's untie this formation first, so that if someone comes here in the future, they won't be able to access the spiritual world passage. The main passage of the mortal world can be entered by any living being. If a low-level monk finds this place, it can only be regarded as a chance for the other party. However, it is not clear whether it is a blessing or a curse for those with a low level to reach the spiritual world. The main passage here is similar to the passage in the East Mortal Realm. It is a teleportation array. Looking at the familiar lines on the teleportation array, Zuyun also found that they were similar. Whether it's the teleportation array in the East Mortal Realm or Yao Fuzong's teleportation talisman. If he had never met the great universe artifact Immortal, Zuyun might have written down this formation pattern. But in a few days, he will be able to learn all the formations of Xianxia, so it won't be too difficult to use this teleportation formation. With a chuckle, Zuyun stepped forward to the main formation. Just as the formation patterns lit up and the space power in the formation surged into Zuyun, a sudden change occurred. The dispersing Liwo formation caused a strange movement in the lake. Originally, the bottom of the lake was in an extremely delicate balance, but after Zuyun withdrew, the water and fire here no longer blended together. The Li fire formation collapsed because the power of the Li fire formation could not be dissipated in the water. If it cannot be balanced, then water and fire are incompatible, and an extremely powerful force will immediately explode. Boom! As powerful as a self-destruction array, Zuyun was instantly swallowed up without any precautions. Zuyun was standing on the main formation I, but was trapped by the power of the formation pattern, unable to escape or dodge. This damn. While unconscious, Zuyun cursed. He never thought that he would encounter such an accident. But after all, he was careless after all. However, although this power was strong, it was offset by the formations. What Zuyun suffered was just a shock to his soul. After a long time, Zuyun woke up and was already in a barren mountain. Here. He looked around and saw that the mist everywhere was exactly the same as the main passage he had walked through before. Taking a closer look, he found that the intensity of the spiritual power was almost the same. Zuyun was extremely depressed and smiled bitterly. Because he lost his direction, even if he resorted to the shattering void spirit eye technique. Originally, after entering through the teleportation array, one could naturally identify the direction. But he came in unconscious. How could he tell the difference between east, west, north, and south? Moreover, everything here is covered in fog. It can be said that there is no sunlight, and there is nothing to refer to. Forget it, just go anywhere, whether it's to the spirit world or another mortal world, the worst is to do it again. Zuyun could only comfort him like this, and then used the void-breaking spiritual eye technique to find the nearest exit and walk towards it. If I go to the spirit world, I will go to Yayuan and tell him what happened in these mortal worlds first. If you go to the East Mortal Realm, go to the Dongsheng Realm to meet old friends, and then stay under the Demon Refining Tower to wait and see. If we go to the Bay Mortal Realm, there will be nothing to do. If you go to the Xiphon Realm, just find a strong enemy and learn the White Tiger Fist. Zuyun had arranged his escape plan. Likewise, he entered the passage and appeared in a completely unfamiliar place. The West Mortal Realm. This is really. Looking at the sight he had never seen before, Zuyun was speechless for a while. It seems that God is destined for me to learn the 28 methods of Chaos Fist. But, I wonder if there will be any changes after learning them all. Zuyun couldn't help but think in his heart, but with the experience of the previous 3 punches, he also knew that the other 4 punches were not that simple. He will not cause trouble for no reason just to learn White Tiger Fist. It's quiet here, why not refine a god-protecting pill for Nujiao first? Another purpose of letting Fen Tianyan recover is so that Nujiao can practice the Divine Eye technique. Everything is ready, and now the east wind is coming. The barren mountain here was filled with demonic aura, and it was obviously a gathering place for demonic beasts. Zuyun relaxed a lot, found a corner, and hid in the immortal mansion. Nujiao, look. After coming out of the cave, Zuyun went straight to the bedroom window, then raised his forearm, and Fen Tianyan appeared in human form. Fen Tian, it's great that you can recover. Nujiao's smile was full of smiles, and her eyes, which were clearly invisible, revealed a look of surprise. Nujiao, I heard from the master that you need a god-protecting pill. Fen Tian also said with a smile. Well, Nujiao glanced at Zuyun and said faintly, originally, I felt that this life was boring, but the young master said that at the worst, I would have to cultivate again for the rest of my life. I think it makes sense. Human monks have 3,000 avenues, and now my magic power has been exhausted. He is no different from the mortals in the lower world, so he plans to practice the Divine Eye technique so that he can see things and then use the sword to prove the Tao. The Divine Eye technique, is it the Divine Eye technique of Purgatory Mountain? Fen Tianyan also said excitedly. Exactly, I think with this technique, my eyes will be the same as ordinary people. If the magic power is not there, so what? Nujiao said softly, full of pride. Fen Tianyan smiled and said, okay, then I will refine a god-protecting pill for you. If we go out by then, you and I might be able to fight side by side. It couldn't be better. Nujiao glanced at Zuyun meaningfully and said, I hope the young master will not regard me as a thug by then. Fen Tianyan shook his head and said, how is it possible? The master's character is not comparable to that of the immortal emperor. Zuyun was greatly surprised when he heard this. It is true that he knew very little about the immortal emperor, but he knew from Huang Longshu and other elixirs, as well as Nu Jiao's mouth, that the immortal emperor was a powerful person who put his own interests first. But compared to him, Zhu Yun really didn't dare. Okay Fen Tian, Zhu Yun waved his hand to interrupt Fen Tianyan's flattery and said, first refine the God Protector pill, I still have something to do. Yes, master. Fen Tianyan knew that he was a little rude, so he shrank his neck and said goodbye to Nu Jiao. In the alchemy room, Zhu Yun dug out the formula for the God-protecting pill and let Fen Tianyan enter the cauldron. He returned to the medicine garden, collected the necessary elixirs, and devoted himself wholeheartedly to refining the pill. God-protecting pill is one of several pills that can be refined during the transformation stage. It is used to protect the soul during cultivation and avoid accidents. Starting from the stage of transformation into gods, monks pay more attention to the cultivation of the soul and the understanding of the Tao. The stronger the soul, the higher the understanding will naturally be, and at the same time, it will not be easily affected by the outside world. For a whole day, Zhu Yun refined a furnace of God-protecting pills. Done. Zhu Yun stood up, opened the furnace to collect the pills, and then let Fen Tianyan return to his human form and put the porcelain bottle into his hand. You go and give it to Nu Jiao, I'm going to go see the world of Dazhu. Now that we have entered the immortal mansion, let's see how prepared the great universe immortal is. If you can learn the formation method, you can also liberate Nu Jiao, and her practice will not be too boring. Although, even if Nu Jiao comes out, she can only move around in this small area of Xianfu. It's not like Zhu Yun has never thought about bringing Nu Jiao to the outside world. But like a mortal, she would become a burden to herself. If she could really master the divine eye technique, it might save her a lot of trouble. After arriving in the Dazhu world, Zhu Yun ran towards the formation immortal. After a long time, he saw the volcano again. The formation immortal should be in the temple, I'll go over and have a look. Zhu Yun's heart skipped a beat and he immediately flew away. But suddenly, countless formations flashed in front of him, and before he could stop, he was already trapped in the entire formation. As far as the eye can see, there is nothingness. He used the divine eye technique without hesitation, and formation patterns appeared in his eyes instantly, but the overly complicated combination made him dazzled. Moreover, the formation pattern kept changing back and forth. Even if he used the divine eye technique, he could not completely remember the changing process of the formation pattern. There was no reference in the void. For a moment, Zhu Yun didn't know what to do. He couldn't imagine that if the formation immortal wanted to kill him. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1048. Zhu Yun raised his heart to his throat, not daring to relax at all, for fear that the formation immortal would appear as a weapon immortal and then kill him here. Although the great universe artifact immortal agreed to his promise before, without any support, he was not sure how the great universe artifact immortal would deal with him. Maybe, he is making a mistake with himself. Just when Zhu Yun was concentrating and extremely vigilant, a black light circulated and suddenly appeared in front of Zhu Yun. Zhu Yun, you're here. A slightly tired voice came from the black mirror. Yes, I'm here, why do you want to trap me in this formation? Zhu Yun didn't even blink, for fear that the great universe formation immortal would attack him at the next moment. If I don't force you into the formation, how can you learn the true formation method? The great universe artifact immortal's tone was as usual, and he seemed to be a little impatient. The deployment of these thousands of immortal formations has already consumed the power of my remaining soul. When you break through this formation, you let the great universe, the origin of the world, nourishes me, otherwise, I will die in my sleep. Upon hearing this, Zhu Yun exclaimed in shock, are you going to die here? Nonsense, the great universe artifact immortal said angrily, This immortal formation is unmatched by anyone in the immortal world. And after becoming an artifact immortal, setting up a formation is even more difficult. If it weren't for this place, the rules of the universe are not perfect, and I cannot integrate all the formations into these thousands of immortal formations in these few days. Having said this, the great universe immortal paused for a moment, with contempt in his tone, and then said, "Did you think that I would hurt you?" Zuyun touched his nose subconsciously. There was no way he could do it. Since he set foot on the path to immortality, he had indeed suffered a lot of losses. There were also several times when he almost fell into catastrophe. There is nothing wrong with being careful, but you are too careful in this universe world. Remember, the original power of this universe world is gathered in one place. I guess you already have a world tree. World tree, if you don't die, you will be immortal here, do you understand? Zuyun was surprised. Okay, don't be so surprised. The world of the universe is mysterious and boundless, and I can't finish it even if I talk in a long story. Now, you have to break out of this formation on your own. As for how many formations you can comprehend, it depends on your destiny. After saying that, the great universe artifact immortal fled away. Within a moment, he was already submerged in the darkness and disappeared without a trace. Zuyun stretched his brows and began to look around in the void. But in his heart, he couldn't help but think about what Xianxia said to him. After a long time, he gathered his concentration and looked at the formations with his divine eyes. Chaos creates two rights, and the two rights are yin and yang. Yin and yang give birth to the three talents, which are for heaven, earth, and people. Three talents give birth to four images, and four images guard the four directions. The four directions merge into the five elements, and the five elements merge into chaos. These thousands of formation patterns changed over and over again. Zuyun was dazzled by the sight, but he couldn't determine which kind of heavenly principle the one formation pattern he was looking for belonged to. Not to mention, there are 6 paths of reincarnation, and yin and yang, and 5 elements are 7 stars. There is also the 9 Bagua Palace. At a glance, the formation pattern clearly belongs to yang. Before looking carefully, it has turned into the sky. Blinking again, the formation pattern representing the 3 talents of heaven is twisted, like a green dragon. It is one of the 4 images and belongs to the east. The east is changing, vitality appears again, and the wood says it is born. The 5 elements plus yin and yang are also one of the Baidu. No matter how Zuyun looked at it or which formation pattern he looked at, it was always changing like this. Finally, Zuyun understood. My attainments in formations may be enough in the lower realm, after all, I don't have access to too many principles of heaven. What he has learned throughout his life is nothing but a rarity for a formation immortal. He immediately smiled bitterly. Arrogant. But after finally getting there, Zuyun didn't give up. Even Li Tianhuo, following the immortal formation, realized the Luo formation just by being contaminated by the Taoyuan, and transformed himself from ordinary Tianhuo to Li Tianhuo. From this, it can be seen that as long as you are here, it is not in vain. At worst, wait until the formation immortal wakes up and shamelessly ask him for advice. With his mind cleared of distracting thoughts, Zuyun looked at these formation patterns again. It's still extremely complicated, but it's much better than before. But when the chaos power is used on the divine eye technique, the consumption is still too great. After an unknown amount of time, Zuyun was exhausted. And the thousands of formation patterns in the thousands of immortal formations suddenly scattered into light spots at the same time. Just like in the changing formation. Still learned nothing. Zuyun sat slumped on the ground and scratched his head. In fact, it's useless if he can't grasp it, even if he has a feeling in his heart. After taking a deep look at the temple in the crater, Zuyun exited the world of the universe, then sat on the edge of the void in the immortal mansion and began to refine his energy. A few days later, the power of chaos was full again. Looking at the closed window and door of the bedroom, I thought that Nujiao was practicing, so she didn't want to disturb her and entered the world of the universe again. Since the great universe artifact Immortal said that as long as the world tree exists, he will remain immortal here, so it would be a good idea to go see the ancestral tree, and then let him take care of it and take a look at the totem pole. Within a moment, Zuyun appeared at the edge of the lake. Master, the vitality is much greater. The fragments you fused this time are pretty good. The ancestral tree seemed to be praising Zuyun. Zuyun touched his nose and then noticed that the feeling of the universe seemed to be different to him. The spiritual power in the air is more peaceful and gentle. If he practices here, the effect will be better than in the outside world. Of course, this is incomparable to the absorption of the void and chaotic power in the immortal mansion. Old tree, Zuyun raised his head and asked, "Can you sense the entire universe?" Okay, Zuxia said, a little surprised by Zuyun's question. It just takes some time. This world is already very big, and now there is another space added. I want to know the situation of this side, so it is necessary to take back the perception of other parties. However, if I cooperate with Das Han, the source power that can be directly sensed and directly used is about 10,000 miles away. Zuyun exclaimed, "That's not too small." "It's not small," Zuxia sighed and said, "but this world is too big. What I'm afraid of is that once it escapes my perception, something unexpected will happen." Zuyun frowned and said, "Why do you say that? This world is too mysterious. I was born as a world tree, and my responsibility is to take the natural development of this world as my own." Previously, the totem pole suddenly flew from outer space, and then the Mahayana period suddenly appeared. Zuyun suddenly realized that this was indeed an accident. However, he was very sure that the last totem pole was the dragon head pillar, and it undoubtedly belonged to the dragon demon emperor. So, the fragment owned by the dragon demon emperor is also a fragment of the great universe glass mirror? Otherwise, why would the totem pole appear here? Granted, there will be relationships to the other 11 totem poles. But the time of appearance is too coincidental. If you go back to the spirit world, try to find out about the dragon demon emperor. I have a chance encounter with him, maybe I can find out something. Or when I go to the East Mortal realm to find Yao Fuzong, I can trap him and interrogate him. Something. Yao Fuzong can refine treasures like the demon refining tower, he must have seen the fairy book. After some exchanges with Ye Yuan, he learned that people from the immortal world can come to the lower world. For example, Ye Yang can communicate directly with Ye Yuan. So it is understandable that there can be immortal books left by immortals in this spiritual world. By the way, Master, Ancestral Tree suddenly said, I felt an extremely powerful aura and rules in that direction. I was unable to reach that place because of my insufficient origin. Can you go over and have a look? After saying that, the ancestral tree stretched out a branch and pointed to the south. Zuyun was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "This world was originally an immortal treasure. I think you know that. And that is where the immortal artifact is." Hearing this, even Muling Holy Mountain, who had been silent all this time, couldn't help but reveal his figure. Immortal? Yes, this is an immortal weapon, so naturally there will be an immortal weapon. And this world was refined by that immortal weapon. It's just. Thinking of what happened to the great universe Immortal, Zuyun couldn't bear to talk about it to the ancestral tree and the holy mountain. So, what about those rules? Zuyun frowned and said, "What? Do those rules have any impact?" He knows that the rules mentioned by Xiaoxu refer to the formation patterns in the thousands of immortal formations. Every formation pattern contains the principles of heaven. Those rules dissipated and seemed to be integrated into this world. At first, I was afraid that someone would take this world away. So it turned out that after Zuyun came out of the formation, those flashes of spiritual light were suddenly caught by him. Rules, formations are rules. Every formation has corresponding rules. The one who makes the rules is the one who sets up the formation. The rules of the world are laws. The rules come from. The law of heaven is perfect. Got it? Zuyun, whose eyes suddenly shone with light. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1049. All things are born from nature, and they are mutually reinforcing and mutually restraining. Take his 5 elements as an example: gold, wood, water, fire, and earth can all be transformed into each other. Similarly, no matter how the truth of heaven changes, the essence is still the word principle. The principle is the same, then these array patterns are the same. Just like his 5 elements can eventually transform chaos. But although Zuyun has found the truth of these thousands of immortal arrays, he still only understands a little bit. Because he still doesn't understand how chaos produces 2 yin and yang, how yin and yang produce 3 talents, and how the 3 talents change into 4 images. Or, he doesn't know the key to the change. It seems that I will ask again when the array fairy wakes up. Zuyun did not gain nothing. At least, he understood the great way of this truth. The great way is simple, and different paths lead to the same destination. Old tree, control as much as possible over there. If you see a volcano, transfer the power of the origin into the temple. Can you do it? Zuyun remembered the instructions given to him by the array fairy. This requires the help of the mountain. The ancestor tree did not ask why, but said directly that the holy mountain of wood spirit was needed. I can feel the location of the volcano, but master, you said there is a temple. I still need to feel it carefully. As for crossing into the origin of the world, there is still a long way to go. Take your time, no hurry. Zuyun smiled, saying that he was not in a hurry on the surface, but in fact he was more anxious than anyone else, but he also knew that this could not be rushed. With limited ability, is it useful to rush? Returning to the immortal mansion again, Zuyun glanced at the bedroom. There was a faint spiritual power flowing in the gaps between the doors and windows. Zuyun also thought of a question: why is there spiritual power in the air of the immortal mansion, not chaotic power? I think it is because the immortal mansion is incomplete, so it cannot be directly connected to the void. Otherwise, there is no need to sit on the edge of the void to practice. It seems that if Nujiao encounters problems while practicing the Divine Eyes technique, it is the immortal power. However, the function of the Divine Eyes technique is to allow her to see things, and then she can easily practice the sword technique. Zuyun did not see the burning sky flame, but there was still a faint flow of fire in the crack of the door. It should be that the burning sky flame took the initiative to enter it and protect Nujiao. After sorting out his thoughts, Zuyun decided to walk around in this Western Fan realm. See if there are any hidden dangers of creatures in this Western Fan realm, and practice the White Tiger Fist by the way. Zuyun left the immortal mansion as his mind went. After appearing in the barren mountain, Zuyun randomly found a direction and flew outside. Among the thousands of immortal formations, the biggest gain was that Zuyun's state of mind became much calmer, which he himself had not discovered. Not long after, he found that there was a dilapidated city in the barren mountain. The city was not small, but slightly dilapidated. The mottled city wall was obviously quite old. From afar, there were some cultivators entering the city. Most of them were demon cultivators. In contrast, some human cultivators looked more timid, as if there were man-eating demon beasts in the city. Zuyun had doubts. After discovering that he had come to the Western Fan realm, Zuyun's first reaction was that he should be in the realm of demon cultivators, and demon cultivators would not build cities. At most, there would be a hall in the demon race, belonging to the demon king. This scale is not smaller than any city of the human race. Let's go and take a look. Zuyun landed on the ground and walked towards the city while carefully observing the surroundings. The closer he got, the more he felt that the city was ancient. Until he could see the 3 words on the top of the city without any spiritual power. White Tiger City. They actually named the city after White Tiger. Zuyun narrowed his eyes and thought to himself. At this time, a cultivator next to him suddenly approached Zuyun. Daiyu, are you here to pay homage to the sacred White Tiger beast as well? Pilgrimage. Zuyun's heart was startled. He neither admitted nor denied it, but asked, fellow deist, are you here for pilgrimage? Of course, the cultivator clearly looked like a nascent soul, but he didn't look like a nascent soul at all. Logically, in the mortal world, the nascent soul was the strongest, but the man in front of him seemed to be an ordinary cultivator. Seeing that no one was paying attention to him, he whispered, fellow deist, you are single, and so am I. Why don't we travel together so that we can look after each other? Seeing his cautious look, Zuyun was secretly amused in his heart, but when he first arrived and saw such a mysterious White Tiger city, he naturally wanted to find someone to inquire about the news, so he simply agreed and said, that's what I meant. Great, the cultivator breathed a sigh of relief, and then introduced himself, my name is Shen Nan, may I know your name? So it's fellow deist Shen, Zuyun smiled. He thought that he was in the mortal world, and it was no big deal to reveal his real name, but he was almost knocked down by Luo Xianzun in the southern mortal world. He had always been the one to attack others, and never thought that he would be attacked one day, so he just casually took a pseudonym, my surname is Qi, and my given name is Mu. The last person he left in the southern Fan realm was the Red Candle Demon King, so he took one of the characters as his surname. Although this place is close to Behu City, there are many trees, so he took the character Mu. At the same time, he also decided to disguise himself as a cultivator with wood spiritual roots. Wood is born from birth, so he thought that if he appeared as a cultivator with wood spiritual roots, he would appear more harmless. Its friend Chi Dao, Shen Nan said immediately, how long do you plan to stay in Behu City this time? I don't plan to stay for long. I'm a casual cultivator who has been living in the mountains for a long time. This mortal world is so big, I just want to go around and see and gain some knowledge. Behu City has a long history, of course I have to come and see it. Friend Chi Dao is very thoughtful. Shen Nan praised, and then said, no wonder friend Chi Dao can cultivate to the nascent soul stage at such a young age. Reading thousands of books and traveling thousands of miles is not as good as meeting countless people. Ha ha ha, Zuyun couldn't help laughing. Shen Nan's words were in line with his own thoughts, and he felt much more relaxed. However, this laughter was a bit too abrupt, which attracted many cultivators to wait and see, especially demon cultivators. Some demon cultivators who have not reached the Demon King realm can only half transform into human form and have the characteristics of demon beasts. Seeing that Zuyun and Shen Nan are both in the nascent soul stage, they naturally dare not come forward, but they also glared at them. And further away, 2 demon kings came here angrily and blocked them. Human race, a male demon king said in a deep voice, you dare to come to our demon race holy land so recklessly and disturb our white tiger beast's meditation. Can you afford it? Zuyun was shocked. White tiger beast? How is this possible? Ancient beasts are in the lower world. It is understandable to say that there are real dragons or phoenixes. After all, there have been real dragons in the spirit world, and it is not surprising that there are phoenixes in the lower world. But the white tiger is one of the 4 elephants, an ancient beast guarding the west of the 4 directions. Seeing Zuyun silent, Shen Nan came out to smooth things over, don't be offended, 2 demon kings. My little brother is a little too excited when he first arrived. We won't make any more noise. Humph. Another female demon king glanced over and snorted, the white tiger divine beast let you humans come here, which is a great favor to you. Otherwise, if you too anger the divine beast, the humans will not be able to practice anymore. Yes, 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 the two demon kings are right. Shen Nan responded repeatedly. Such a humble reaction made Zuyun come back to his senses. How can the human race, the spirit of all things, have such a low status in this Xiphon realm? Before, when he looked from a distance, he found that the human race here had a solemn face, but there was still some fear in the solemnity. Now seeing Shen Nan's reaction in person, he couldn't help but feel more confused. Could it be that this Xiphon realm is controlled by demon cultivators? And this so-called white tiger beast? If he didn't know the situation in the fairy world, Huang Mingxin was just a yellow-level world star, and Zuyun might have had a similar reaction to Shen Nan. But his vision had long been above the spiritual world. This Western mortal world. It seems that it is not that simple. The Eastern mortal world has the demon refining tower, the Southern mortal world has the fire immortal venerable, the Northern mortal world has the nightmare demon king. There is a white tiger in the Western mortal world. After seeing the two demon kings leave with dissatisfaction, Shen Nan muttered, if all the resources in the world that are helpful for the cultivation of the nascent soul stage were not gathered in the white tiger city, what are you guys showing off? Hearing this, Zuyun's eyes flashed. Is this white tiger city hoarding high-quality resources? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1050. Fellow Daoist Shen, didn't you say you came here for a pilgrimage? Why did you mention the cultivation resources again? Zuyun thought for a moment and asked vaguely. If you don't make a pilgrimage, you won't have the resources. Shen Nan didn't know Zuyun's purpose, so he said helplessly, although I am in the late stage of nascent soul, I want to reach the peak, but I haven't been able to do it, so I want to come here to seek enlightenment. Dan. Are the pills stored in Behu City? Zuyun asked, how long has fellow Daoist Shen been in seclusion? The peak of the late nascent soul can sometimes be reached in just a thought, right? How do you say this? Shen Nan sighed, sometimes it's not difficult for those who can do it, but it's difficult for those who can't. That's it? What's wrong with Shen is that shiver. That's true. Zuyunchen thought so. He had made several breakthroughs in the past, but it was just a matter of understanding his mind, that's all. Including the sudden understanding of the true meaning of thousands of immortal formations. It is said that there are thousands, but in fact it is just one. The Tao can be Tao, but it is very Tao. These can only be understood, not stated explicitly, and he could not help Shen Nan solve his doubts. In addition, there are many pills that can enable enlightenment, but I have never heard of such a straightforward name. It would be too mysterious to directly call it the pill of enlightenment. Perhaps, this is the reason why White Tiger City suppresses the human race in the West mortal realm. The matter of cultivating immortals seems to be engraved in the bones of every human race. There is no one who does not wish that he can fly to the sky and escape from the earth, and be omnipotent. By the way, friend Chi Dao, are you here to ask for a divine eye pill? Hearing Shen Nan's question, Zuyun asked curiously, why do you ask that? Shen Nan smiled and said, friend Chi Dao is already at the peak of the late nascent soul stage. Although Kai's realm is a little weaker, he can still feel that friend Chi Dao is full of aura and as stable as a rock. I think the realm is stable enough and he can go to the spiritual world to break through. There is a lot of fog in the passage to the spirit world. Only by taking the divine eye pill can you see through the fog and reach the spirit world. Zuyun was extremely surprised, but his expression remained unchanged and he did not respond. He was afraid that he would spill the beans and cause Shen Nan to doubt his origins. But from these words, he could also learn that there seemed to be no descendants of the Lin family in this western mortal realm. There is also the so-called divine eye pill, which is even more mysterious. Is there any pill that can be taken to see through the fog in the passage of the spiritual world? Those fogs are not ordinary fogs. In addition to coming from the spirit world, it is also related to formations. A monk in the mortal world can't see through it if he doesn't have any skills. Fellow Daoist Shen is awesome, Qi is impressed. Zuyun smiled and raised his hands to Shen Nan, acquiescing to the matter. This actually gave him a reason to go on a pilgrimage. After getting a pill, he could explore the mystery. Of course, Zuyun was not worried at all about whether he could return to the spirit world or go to the East mortal world. Zuyun seemed to be chatting with Shen Nan, but in fact he was constantly testing Shen Nan and got a lot of information about the southern mortal realm. Until the two of them entered White Tiger City safely, a mysterious demonic power quickly swept over the two of them. Using demon power as a formation? It seems that the person who set up the formation has a lot of attainments in formation. Zuyun secretly guessed in his heart and also cheered up. If it were before, he would not be able to see through the demon cultivator's formation. But after understanding the truth from the formation immortal that thousands of formations are one and the same, he doesn't take it too seriously to the demonic formation whose formations are driven by demonic power. Friend Edeo, should we go directly to the pilgrimage square, or should we take a stroll in White Tiger City? After entering the city, Shen Nan asked Zuyun for his opinion. Of course I just took a look around. Maybe after this pilgrimage, I won't come again. It's impossible for you to come, Shen Nan said in an envious tone, I have reached the peak of the later stage. If I want to go to the spiritual world, I have to make a pilgrimage to get a divine eye pill. Otherwise, I will most likely get lost in that passage. In the mist. Zuyun said meaningfully, who knows what the future will bring. Shen Nan did not understand the meaning of the words, or his mind was not here. Since I came with Zuyun, it would be good to take a walk. Then Shen will take fellow equators for a walk. Shen Nan took the initiative to walk in front, introducing the buildings along the street and some related rumors as he walked, which suited Zuyun's thoughts. After a long time, the two of them came to a restaurant. You have worked hard, fellow Daoist Shen, why don't you go up and have a drink? This. Shen Nan hesitated, causing Zuyun to ask curiously, fellow Daoist Shen, didn't you say before that there are still 2 hours before the next pilgrimage? Please forgive me, fellow equators, Shen Nan said with a wry smile, to be honest, Shen is really short of money. Zuyun smiled slightly and said, friend Daoist Shen, don't be polite, just have a little drink, Qi is my treat. Please. Seeing Zuyun say this, Shen Nan couldn't refuse, so he followed him and whispered, actually, Shen should have invited fellow Qi Dao to drink. When we each took the elixir and left the White Tiger realm, we arrived at the real in the spiritual realm. Mr. Shen invites fellow equators to have a few drinks. That's settled. Zuyun smiled heartily and stepped into the restaurant. Two humans, do you want to eat or stay in a hotel? A waiter stepped forward with an expressionless face and said. Upon closer inspection, he turned out to be a demon cultivator in the Demon King realm. Zuyun was slightly surprised, but he didn't show any expression. Instead, he said, drink and just serve a few dishes. Sit over there. The Demon King pointed to a corner of the hall, where there was a square low table. Zuyun didn't care about just sitting there, but the key point was that he deeply realized from the attitude of the waiter that the status of the human race in this western mortal realm was not that high. In any other world, which waiter in the restaurant would not be polite to the visitors? But this Demon King was bossy, as if he was superior to others, and he didn't like to receive them. It can be seen that Shen Nan's worry was not unreasonable. This western mortal realm. After Zuyun took Shen Nan to sit there, he began to chat casually again. Zuyun was more thoughtful, and Shen Nan's words sounded more like complaints. After thousands of years of cultivation, everything was fine before the Danja stage. Zhu Yun had his own judgment. It sounded similar to the cultivators in other mortal realms, except that the spiritual medicine was a little harder to find. But after the Danja stage, many elixirs had to be sought in Behu City. Either buy or make a pilgrimage. Shen Nan came to Behu City once 500 years ago. At that time, he came to buy elixirs for breaking through the infant stage. Therefore, he had an inexplicable feeling towards Behu City, either hope or fear. Friend Chi, in Behu City, try to have less dealings with demon cultivators, Shen Nan said. Back then, I saw a cultivator in the late Jindan stage beaten to death by a group of demon cultivators. In the end, he died without a burial, and his body was thrown outside the city, with no place to bury it. Zhu Yun frowned and said, "Why?" He asked why he was beaten to death in Behu City. Is there no order in Behu City? The reason is unknown. But in the true spirit realm, the most popular story is that the Taoist accidentally bumped into a demon cultivator and stepped on the demon cultivator on the way to the pilgrimage. So, the demon cultivator called his friends and attacked in groups. Zhu Yun felt that it was not very credible. In common sense, the spiritual consciousness of a Jindan cultivator has begun to take shape, so how could he accidentally step on someone else's foot? What made him even more incomprehensible was, is there no rule in this White Tiger City? Can people fight at will? This has never been seen in any city. In his experience, every city he has been to, including some markets, not only prohibits fighting, but also prohibits flying, in order to prevent various accidents. This White Tiger City is a pilgrimage city in the Western Fan realm. Why does it sound more chaotic? Zhu Yun wanted to question it, but when he thought of the attitude of the waiter before, he was relieved. Perhaps it is still because of the low status of the human race. If there are problems in all the major mortal realms like the other realms, then is the Western Fan realm caused by the demon race? Nightmare Demon King? Yuan said that all the major realms exist in the Nightmare Demon. No matter what the origin of the Nightmare Demon is, it is certain that the Nightmare Demon is a demon body and has the 7 original sins of the human race. Although it can be completely transformed into a human before the Demon King realm, it is extremely resentful of the human race. Then, could this White Tiger City be related to the Nightmare Demon? Zhu Yun secretly remembered it in his heart, but suddenly he discovered a problem. They have been sitting here for half an hour, why haven't the food and drinks been served yet? Thinking of this, he looked towards the counter. No one.